So just a little quick background on myself. I began in early childhood education. I've also been a public school special education teacher, elementary, and a consultant advocate for kids both in public and private schools, in residential settings, and also I've worked with adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities is sort of my area of experience and expertise. So currently, my focus and my new COVID project was to create my new business, which is called Inclusible and Inclusible Games. I also feel like I need to tell you that public speaking is a bit out of my comfort zone, but I do think that I have something to share. So I hope you'll bear with me. And I would like to thank Julie and Nancy and the Special Education Task Force for the chance for me to share today. So building personal connections through playing games, support for those with autism and other special needs is the name of my topic. And Inclusible is my business name. And Inclusible means suitable for inclusion. And it's my goal to make communities and activities which are suitable for inclusion and not people. And play is, I'm finding, the most enjoyable tool. Of course, it's not up to our kids to become suitable for inclusion, but we do want to give them the skills and the opportunities to be able to connect with others. So play is the tool and building personal connections is the goal. So today's objectives, I'm hoping you will gain information and tools to support learners with varying abilities in play. Specific topics that I will touch on will include benefits of play for all, techniques for overcoming barriers and teaching game playing skills, teaching sportsmanship, and I hope to leave you with easy, ready to go ideas and resources. So first, there's a lot of research out there about the benefits of play. So I've just picked a few highlights to share. Research shows that play can improve children's skills in the following ways: planning and organizing, social skills, regulating emotions, coping with stress, and language and math skills. I just love this picture. Physical play decreases stress, fatigue, injury, and depression, and increases range of motion, agility, balance, and flexibility. Play reflects and passes on cultural values, which is something I experienced through working in the Head Start program. This was new to me. I don't know, maybe others knew this, but recess in schools began in the United States as a way to support the social integration of immigrant children. I thought that was fascinating. So from my experience, I've learned play gives us a reason and the opportunity to gather together. And I just want to share, I had an aunt of a young man with autism who has very limited communication skills say to me, this is the most I've been able to connect with him his whole life. And he was 21 at the time. So playing a game gave him a reason to sit at the table with his aunt. And through that time, you know, without the benefit of communication skills, in the past, they didn't really have a way to connect. So he would sort of wander away when there would be attempted visits. But through the game and through the reason to be at the table, they were able to exchange looks and smiles and touches, and he likes to vocalize, and he's a good listener, and they were just able to connect. So it was kind of at that moment that I realized the power and the importance of what I was working on. So play gives us a reason and the opportunity to gather together, and also that can last a lifetime. I've also learned that play can give us a predictable and comfortable way to connect with others. Games have rules and a structure. They can be learned and practiced, so players can change, but the game remains the same. Play can give us opportunities to see and listen to others, and in turn, be seen and heard. Just having a chance to really get to know one another, it's so important for our kids. And this is sort of made easy just through the simplicity of turn taking. Through play, we can spend time with those who are different from ourselves, build friendships, and grow as individuals. And differences, of course, including gender identity, abilities, cultures, and generations. One thing I wanted to point out on this slide is I love how this little guy, through the use of the little handheld visual tools here, the power of his word stop can make a whole line of kids stop in their tracks. Possible barriers to play for special needs learners. I wanted to just tell you, I've got just 3 slides on this. And if you're involved with children with disabilities, you don't need me to tell you that there are barriers. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go through this and then spend more time on what we can do. So some barriers for our learners can be skills, communication, motivation, emotions, and anxiety. I recently learned that up to 84% of kids with autism experience anxiety. Behavior, mobility, medical, sensory, cognitive, and opportunity. Now, something that I have experienced in my work is what I call an isolation problem. And just I wanted to be able to describe this to people, and so I put it into a chart. Hopefully this makes it easy to understand. So, and this is especially something I've learned through my work with kids with autism, how they would spend much of their time alone or in their own world, and avoid engaging with others oftentimes. And this could be for a number of reasons, like our previous slide. It could be anxiety, motivation, skills deficits. There can be, all kinds of reasons. But because of that, their interests and skills remain narrow because they're not trying new things. Their opportunities to engage with others actually ends up decreasing because when you always say no and you are unwilling to engage with others, you stop being asked. So at that point, preferences for people and activities, it's hard to develop that because you're not having those opportunities. You're unable to make meaningful activity and partner choices. You have little say or control over your own activities, and then I would argue that builds into your own life. You may have feelings of isolation and anxiety, and the desire for self-stimulatory activities remains high, and then the cycle continues. So what I am working on is breaking that cycle of isolation. So again, we start with a child who spends much of their time alone or in their own world. And this is the point at which I am really focusing today and where the intervention needs to happen. So I focus on giving high support to help the kids engage in new activities and games. Through this, they gain new skills and broader interests. They're able to engage with others through the new activities. They can develop activity preferences and partner preferences. They're able to then make meaningful choices, able to feel happier and less anxious. Self-stimulatory activities remain an option because there are all sorts of reasons, and we don't want to take that away from them. But I do find that they're able to spend more time engaged with others, and actually that self-stimulatory activities tend to decrease. So, and I would argue through breaking this cycle that we're also gaining, our kids are gaining better prospects for their lives in the long run. So how do we work on this? I've got 15 tips for overcoming barriers and teaching skills. I find that the biggest hurdle is getting started. The first goal is getting our kids to come to the table, and then we want them to want to stay. So tip number 1, choose wisely. start simply, like with puzzles. What I do is when I have my game time sessions, if I'm going into a group of kids or adults that I don't yet know very well, I'll find that watching them with puzzles can give me some instant information about interest and ability levels. Know your players and choose games with potential for interest. Consider, are the games competitive versus cooperative? Will they be taking turns or playing all at once? Is there a chance? Is it up to chance, or is there strategy involved? Is it simple or complex? Games are created to evoke emotions, so you're going to want to avoid poor matches. If you've got kids with sensory needs, anxiety, don't choose games that have startling features like Jenga, where you pull one out and the whole tower comes down, or the jarring noise that a game like Operation makes. I would also add to avoid elimination games like the typical way we play Simon Says or musical chairs. The second one is choices, meaningful choices as soon as possible, but make sure the choices are actually available for that day or time or moment, and that the kids understand what the choices are. So initially you may actually hold up objects if you want to play this game or do this puzzle with them. And then you can move on to choice boards, pair with text, and include partner choices. And our kids can be taught to invite others to play with them. Create the environment. The environment should be inviting, should include heterogeneous groups, different classes and grade levels. Families is, instant age level intergeneity, if that's a word. Community members, locations. I've worked in libraries, churches, all kinds of reasons to get together for games. Make expectations clear. It's easy to start right in. You want to make it so that there aren't barriers between getting started on the game. Visual schedules can help. This is play a game, get a prize for motivation, for targeting skills, or just for fun. Just something I wanted to share is that once I was at a baby shower and we were playing games, and simple prizes were being given out to the winners of the game. And it just seemed to really increase the fun level, even if you weren't the one getting the prize. It was fun to see what they chose. And but a word of caution is sometimes if you start something like this, that's the expectation to continue. So, think it through before you get started. It takes two. What I like to do is I like to set up my space, the play space, so that when the kids or adults come into it, they can know right away, this activity, I'm going to need to find a partner. So I have it set up so that it's visually easily to understand. If possible, start with the puzzles apart and let the learner leave with them put together, so that their accomplishment isn't just sort of dismantled before their eyes. Just something to keep in mind. 3 or more, this is a good opportunity to make teams. Over here you can see I set the table up with card holders and a basket and things that are all ready to go. You can set up memory match games so that they are good to go before the kids come in. I use baskets to help give the kids a spot so they know once they have the pair in their hand, there's something to do with it now. Now you put it in the basket. It also helps separate the playing cards from the cards the kids have already collected. I also like to include something that's fun structured. I love to introduce house rules early on. It's a specific term for making changes in a game. It can help kids make decisions together to slightly change the rules of the game. It can foster flexible thinking, creative thinking, and collaboration. And it's a really good way to explain that the reason for making modifications. This is okay. It's all right. We're making changes. It's house rules. Okay, back to our 15 tips. Number 4 is demonstrate and model. Experienced players should go first. Play a practice round, especially if it's a new game. And what we're doing is we're trying to build game playing skills, taking turns, the steps within a turn, the concepts naturally come with all types of games, social skills, and finishing a game. Physically pass the turn. I like to use bowls or baskets, like I mentioned before. My environmentally friendly reminder is if you're buying new, please avoid plastic. I actually found these baskets at the dollar store, so you can get inexpensive things that are not plastic. They can serve as prompts. So when the child receives the basket, they're prompted, oh, okay, now I need to do something. I've also used things like the trouble game itself, the board can be passed around. So that makes it easier to know whose turn it is and whose turn it's not. Connect 4, I place the tower diagonally right in the box so that I can slide that back and forth. That's a good early beginning game, and then it makes it clear for the kids. Now it's your turn to do something, and now it's you stop, and now it's my turn to do something. Always go clockwise, so that our kids and adults can anticipate their turns. Consider that predictable for many of our kids means comfortable. Shorten it up. And a lot of this is assuming that the kids are not already eager to play games. So we're trying to make it easy to get them started. So shorten it up. So it's a small commitment on their end that they're making. You can build tolerance as we go along and lengthen with interest. Again, going back to the trouble game, the typical way of playing is you have 4 pieces for moving around the board, and I start with just 1 or 2. The goal is to expose kids to a variety of activities. So that's another reason for keeping it short. You don't need to have them make a big commitment or for yourself either, because you want to, as quickly as you can, find what they really like to do. And the other point I want to make is you can always play it again. If it went well, you can offer, would you like to do this again? Play with partners. Pair the inexperienced with the experienced. Learners have the opportunity then to learn with it being a low stress situation. And the leaders can assess the inexperienced player's skills as you go along. It keeps it fun for all, and it keeps the game moving, which is important. Some jobs that the inexperienced partner can do would include things like rolling the dice, drawing a card. If there's a choice between 2 moves, they could help make that decision. Which one should we do? Consider the invitation. Oftentimes we say something like, do you want to play a card game? And I just want you to consider it might trigger a sequence, something like this. Process the question. Then they need to consider the options, anticipate what would a yes response mean. What is it? Have I done it before? Do I want to do it now? Will it be hard? Do I like it? Then they have to make that decision. They have to formulate and produce a response that will be understood in a timely manner before, if you're playing with kids, before that kid is off doing something else. So When we think of all the skills involved, receptive and expressive language, language processing, executive functioning, like organizing, planning, and thinking before acting, our kids would, oftentimes our kids, the easier and more impulsive route is to just say no. So instead, I would say consider an invitation, something like this. Say, come try this game with me. I'll help you. Last move first. The last puzzle piece, the last round of the game. Make it short and easy. Build with comfort and interest, as I've been saying sort of all along. And one thing I like to do is, if it's hard to even get your learner to the table, I'll go across the room and hand them a puzzle piece initially. So they sort of have that in their hand, and then, all right, now what do I do? And then you guide them to the puzzle, you put it in. No, that wasn't so bad. The next time you give them 2 pieces. It sort of reminds me of being in the mall or on the streets in New York, and a salesperson comes up and hands you a sample or hands you something, you know, they get it in your hand. Count backwards, especially if it's new or non-preferred activity. I don't know about you, but more times than I would like to admit, I have played pitch and throw away, where I'm trying to engage a learner in a game of pitch and catch with me, and I throw them the ball and they throw it away. Nope, I don't want to do that with you. So I've learned a few things. One is stand close. The other is, if I start with a 10 count, counting backwards, and I say 10, and then I give it to them, and I say 9, and then 8 and 7, they pretty quickly catch on that there's a known endpoint here, and it's coming, and I can tolerate this new activity until I get to that endpoint. I caution you to be true to your word. You want to build trust. So when you do reach that endpoint, you're done. Move on to something else. My turn is my turn. The experienced player might feel that it's an opportunity to teach the inexperienced player during their turn, their own turn. But it's more fun and it's more natural if you use a teachable moment more in a way where you're just narrating through your turn. You could say, it's my turn, I roll the dice, I got a 3, I'll move, 1, 2, 3, my turn's done. And also another important point to make here is that the downtime can be important for some of our kids. It can be hard for them to be sort of on high alert and the entire time when everyone else is taking a turn. It gives them a chance to sort of take a little mental break. Skip the quiz. It's common to use questioning as a way of teaching, but this can be overused. So resist teaching through questioning. Learning comes naturally through playing. We all learn best through doing. So instead of saying, what number did you get? And you can say, wow, you got a 6. And we want to keep it fun and moving along. Give a little time. This is just a reminder, you know your kids, your family members, the folks you work with, on whether or not processing time is something they need. So this is just a reminder. And also that we might not recognize sort of the multiple steps there might be to a turn. So be conscious of that, that our learners might need to sort of shift gears, and now they've got to figure out this next step. So just be aware to give a little time. Be observant. If your learner is having fun, build upon it. You can use different partners. You can use similar but new games. Or that learner can become an expert and they can now team with an experienced player. They can be the leader. If they are not having a good time, quickly give more assistance, shorten it up, be a temporary partner, and then ultimately find alternatives. So this is an ongoing process. We are giving opportunities. We are looking for a variety of activities. And then we are, as soon as possible, giving them choices so that we're really building towards things that are our learners want, our players want to do. They want to play. And through that, they can engage with others who like the same game. And there's your perfect opportunity for connections. Okay, my last tip is finish the game. Build the expectation that we are going to finish this game. Too often our kids lose interest and get up and leave. So we want to help them build endurance and make it through the slow parts. If they need to, take a break, but come back and with the expectation that we're going to finish. The goal is to be a good game playing partner. People who like to play games don't like to play games with quitters. So, you know, this is important in keeping the kids at the table. Okay, I wanted to touch a little bit on how to be a good sport, how I have used some materials to teach this. I have 5 kind of simple goals that I share with kids, but they seem to cover a lot. The first is I say yes and I try new things. So I want to acknowledge the challenge right off the bat, that this first step can be hard. So, you know, just like me speaking today is stepping out of my comfort zone. We're asking our kids and our maybe adult learners to step out of their comfort zone and try something new, engage maybe with a new person within a new activity. So acknowledge that, celebrate that. The second is I wait my turn, which is a very important but basic skill. Third, I say or I do nice things. Just a cute story I want to share with you. The College of St. Rose here in Albany, near where I live, they have a social skills program for local kids with autism. It's a great program. It's run by Dr. Susan DeLuke with volunteers from the college. And I was playing a game with a group of kids, and the game included scripts, cards where they pick up a card and it might have a direction to say something to one of their fellow players. So one young gal picked up a card that instructed her to say, have a good day. So she chose a peer and she delivered her line. And later on, we were talking about the good sport goals, and I asked if anyone had a chance to say or do something nice today. And she enthusiastically shared her have a good day comment. And it struck me that just because it was scripted, it was not diminished in her eyes. She said it, she made it her own, and she was proud of it. So let's not underestimate the power of scripted language. I take good care of me. Again, this is acknowledging the challenges and giving our learners ownership and power over the time and the space that they are in. Helping them if they need a break, they learn to take that. They learn to take care of themselves, and they do that. They can ask to use the bathroom. They can ask for help. And I include fun here because that's our goal. And we want that to be a high priority as we're talking about it, that for the kids, that we do want you to have fun here. And if this isn't working, then we're going to keep at it until we find something that's fun for you. Finally, I finish with positives. Again, we can use scripting for that, but I like to build it into the routine. I've separated the goals, and this way I've used them with small groups or individually to talk about them separately. Another thing that I like to do is I just make paper versions of them, and whoever I'm working with, we can work together to catch the kids being good and even if we don't interrupt at the moment, we can, if we notice them achieving one of the goals that we're working on with good sportsmanship, I just write their name on the back and share it with them later on. Schedules help build in time to instruct or reflect upon good sport goals. So either at the beginning of a play session or at the end, or it can even be both. And here is one of my scripts for finishing with positives. So the kids can again say it and make it their own. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about ideas and tools for caregivers. Okay, I'm doing pretty good on time. So for those of us who work with kids, we know, okay, this is just my environmental impact statement here. For those of us working with kids, we know the importance of their environmental future as well. So I just included this to point out, look for wood and paper products with this symbol on it, and then you know it's sustainably forested. So these are the card holders that I talked about earlier. I showed how I had them use them when I set up the environment. I am a big fan of make your own. So this is the card holder I made simply from an upside down shoebox with a lid on it. And I just want to share some great beginner puzzles, especially for our folks with autism. Some of them don't look at the big picture when using puzzles, but it's the shape that they're really focusing on. So these are fit to a space puzzles that are very simple for starting. Sort of the next level, these are more complicated, but they also have the alphabet. It gives them sort of another clue about how to put the puzzle together. Another technique that you can use is just pull out a few pieces at once, and then they can together, because you're always working together on activities. You're not going to. I guess that's a point I should make. When we're doing puzzles, the point isn't to give the puzzle to the child to do independently. It's to do it together, either with an adult initially or with another partner. But to make it easier, you can just pull out a few pieces to start with. These are higher level puzzles, but they are still follow the fit to a space pattern. I like the Lowry puzzles, and Melissa and Doug. I found United States puzzles, and you can get them up to like 60 pieces. So it can be a nice activity for kids with more skills or adults. The next level would be jigsaw puzzles, and you can find them. I found them in as few as 6 pieces, 6, 9, but typically they go from 24 to 48 to 100. The point I just wanted to make with this is with puzzles, make sure that you are allowing time for your players to finish the puzzle. Sometimes we make the mistake of pulling out a 100-piece puzzle and it's a 30-minute time frame. Unless you're planning ahead, you can start that puzzle on a piece of cardboard, set it aside, and bring it out for another time. I like to find games that, or find activities that are easy for turn taking. And there's a way to play this game, but I've just used it as a simple turn taking activity. This young man, he likes fitting items into spaces. So it was a fun thing for him to do with a partner. So they each had their own different cups of colors, and they would pass the board back and forth and take turns. Memory and matching games. I get a lot of mileage out of these. Again, I use the bowls to keep track of the cards. And I always look for games that have a text associated, if you can find them. Here I have a modified memory match game. It's twice as easy, it's twice as fast, and all I did was I set up half of the one set of the cards on one placemat and the other set on the other placemat. So the players choose one from each placemat. So it still looks like the full game, but you've just made it much easier. I do have, I started an Inclusible YouTube channel, and I have up to 3 videos there now with the help of some good friends. And these 3 videos talk about, demonstrate the 3 ways to play matching games. One is the traditional matching game, one is this modified version, and the third is the very simple beginning step of simple matchup playing, face-up matching. But again, you have that opportunity to play together and to take turns, and you're building skills. Make your own matching games. This is one that I made. My daughter and I love the Adirondacks, so that was the theme I chose. You can use favorite places. You can use extended family member and the pictures. Always, again, I always include the text for not only reading and word recognition, but also for younger kids, so that whoever they're playing with is using the same vocabulary, so it's consistent. They look at this picture and they're not reading red trillium, but they can learn that this is red trillium. I guess that's all I wanted to say about that one. This is just another example. This was a game that I made for our St. Rose Friday Nights program. Dollar store deals. You can go into the dollar store and get 2 of the same set of flashcards, and bingo, you've got a matching game. These tend to be a bigger size, which can be better for younger kids or for those with fine motor challenges. And the one downside is, since they are bigger, it takes up a lot more table space. But also it's visually easier for vision impaired kiddos too. Teachers pay teachers. I wanted to share this for those of you who don't know. This is a great resource. I chose this from the vendor. Her name is Autism Educator. She put together 100 real life photos, and what I did was I purchased the download for $5 or $6, and they're great pictures. So I was able to make a few matching games from these pictures, and they're fun for the kids. Watch for games from me at Inclusible.com. This is my little plug, although I don't have them really available yet. But one of my pet peeves is that when you try and find games that are easier for older players who are looking to engage in activities but might need a simpler game, it can be hard to find things. It can be very hard to find things that are age appropriate. Simple often means babyish or childish. So I'm sort of out on a mission to create games that are good for all ages. Okay. This is just a little bit about modifications. A group that I was working with, it was a day program without walls, adults, and we met in area parks. And they were interested in this game, but I found they were having trouble sort of keeping it going. It was too confusing. So I just took it home, and with simple tape and arrows, I made it easy for them to know whose stones were whose and which direction they were going. Some good ideas for physical play. I love this soft frisbee. It doesn't hurt when you catch it. Making visuals for traditional games. The Nerf football. This is what I was hoping to do is have some printables for you. I understand this is being recorded, so it will be available, but screen shooting is an option if you know how to screen shoot a picture. You can always email me for any of these. I don't have too many here, but and also on my website, I do have a free download section that I try and keep available, things that are helpful for everyday folks. So this is something that I think is very helpful, especially for families who don't have the structure of a school day. And your child might be sitting on the floor engaged in their own activity. So you could write in here puzzles and then approach them and say, you've got your free time now for 5 more minutes, and then we're going to play a puzzle, and then you can have more free time. And then you can help them make that transition if they need this type of support. And then go back and another minute and cross off number 4. You've got 4 more minutes, 3 more minutes, and then you get them to do the activity. You're going to, again, make it easy, and then they can go right back to their what they were doing, and then you can do this over and over again throughout the day. This is just my printable for the 2 or 3 players and for the prize tokens and for the good sport goals. I did want to take a couple of minutes to talk about playing games virtually. This is my last section, so I'm hoping to have a chance for questions if you do have any. I have found that because of our COVID times, people are really stepping up, and they are creating more games that can be played virtually. I myself created one. But in looking online, there are a lot of good ideas out there now. Some things that I found were Zoom Pictionary, coloring together on Zoom, Freeze Dance, I Spy, 20 Questions, Guess the Sound, Zoom In, which I'll show you. I created the game and just changed the name to Detective for our purposes. Okay. So this is my version of 20 questions, and what I typically do is I just try and make things visual and simplified. This is the instructions on one page, a little more information, but this is the most important page. So what I have here are actual scripts of questions that the kids could ask if they're readers. And then here with Zoom Annotate, they actually have a stamp that is a check mark. So I would use the check mark as the kids ask the questions, and we could keep track of our 20 questions as a countdown. I went first and showed them how to play the game, and so I included, once they guessed the horse, I provided this picture with a little more information. This is my Busy in Cuba matching game. And this is my buddy Ben and his mother Joyce. Ben actually has a set of this card matching card game in front of him, and I made a PowerPoint of it so that we could play all together. So here you can see his mom is directing him to look up at the screen. Here he found the match independently, and he now knows that he holds it up, but she's trying to help him turn it around so that he can learn that he's got to make it so that the person viewing can see what he's holding up. This was the game that I created. It's called Discard, and I've got 3 levels of play, and it combines digital and a physical card game. And one of my goals is to introduce kids to vocabulary and the concept of traditional playing cards so that that can lead them into other games. So here Mom and I practiced the game, and Ben got good at it. And then we were able to bring his dad in on another Zoom call. And remembering that our priority is fun and personal connections. So we took a break from the tool, which was playing the game, for Ben to enjoy his mom and dad's company. Here are a couple of my new friends, Abby and Carabelle. They are delightful 4th graders. Carabelle actually helped me try on my discard game. This is the 2nd level. And this is Carabelle. This was the first day that I had met Abby, and Carabelle had invited Abby to play with us on this day. So here we are playing the 20 questions game. And this is the animal detective game that I created from the idea I got online, which was called Zoom In, I think it was. And so the kids are trying to decipher on the first look what the animal is. And I love Abby's expression in this. And here we find out on the 3rd look that it's a pelican. And what's this? Actually, these kids were not easy to fool. They knew right away what most of my animals were. But I wanted to include this to point out Abby was a fan of snakes, and we took a long time for her to share her feelings, and we listened to her talk about facts that she knew about snakes. Carabelle, I love the picture because you can see how Carabelle is listening, and Abby is just thrilled to be talking about something she really enjoys and is passionate about. And then Abby, look at the listener that she is. It's now, she's listening while Carabelle shares her feelings. And she was not a big fan of snakes. Okay, and my final slide, I wanted to just share with you a quote from George Bernard Shaw. He said, "We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing." And I just think that that's something for all of us to keep in mind. Okay, and that's it. So I think, I'm not sure about how the questions.
Okay, Diane, I actually have a few questions here for you in the chat, and anybody else who has some, please feel free to post them here. We've got someone asking if you have any specific suggestions for engaging preschoolers with autism in group play or any suggested games.
My guess might be that that question came early on, because I think a lot of the things that I talked about should give them ideas. A lot of this was early starting. So the puzzles, there are a lot of games that I'm actually kind of creating that I don't have available yet, but simple games, just modify simple games. But what I like to do is I like to focus around things that have something visual. So the stop and go, you can easily make that with pie plates, or contact me and I'll send you one of the games, because we actually teamed with a group of high school transitioning students and a group called Live, Work, Learn, and the kids are learning work skills. So they made a number of games for me. So if anyone wants one of our stop and go games, let me know and I'll send it to you. So things that are visual, where you're physically taking the turn.
Somebody suggested using Play-Doh to shape animals, and then the participants could guess what animal it was.
Sure. I would just want to make sure that the activities are fast moving. Yeah, so fast moving, and giving the kids a quick chance to have their turn. So this is my little dog who gets a little bit nervous when I get on Zoom.
We have another question. If you have any strategies for involving kids without disabilities in these games and activities?
Oh, good question. So that's my whole point is it should be a fun game to begin with. So that's what I'm creating and I'm looking for is games that have some appeal to the general population. And then you can make modifications. You can play independently with the special needs kiddo to kind of get them up to speed so that they can engage. But the games should be of interest. Yeah, so that's kind of my thought on that.
And one more question about any ideas for active or outdoor games?
Sure. There's the stop and go. There is, you know, a lot of the traditional games, even if you do something like Simon Says, but do it differently. It's, you know, you could call it maybe Copy Me, and simple ball games, throwing and catching. A real easy thing is to set up a bucket or have some kind of a goal so there's a target for the kids to throw things to. Again, I showed you the very soft frisbee, those kinds of things.
Any more questions? This has been very helpful, Diane.
Oh, thank you. I hope people came away with some ideas that they can. My goal is to be able to sort of get started right away. If anyone wants to share ideas, I'm happy to share more ideas on my website too. So if you've got ideas, send them to me, and I'm happy to engage with anybody via my email, which is inclusible@gmail.com.
Now, one participant said that in their youth programs, they've modified many games for folks that have limited or no vision. And it just takes creative thinking and putting yourself in the person's shoes.
Yes, yes. Oh, great. And I would love to know what they're doing. So if they would like to send me that information, I would love that.
I'm also going to put in the chat a link to the evaluation form. If you guys could please take time to complete that at some point, that would be really helpful. If anyone has any more questions, we still have a few moments.
Well, I'm very excited. I did well on time. I thought I was going to go long.
No, you were perfect. And your dog was too.
Yeah, so she's retired to my lap now, so she's all content.
Nancy, if I could just step in for 1 second, I just want to announce that the next session begins at 10:45. The 3 sessions that are being offered at that time are including students in extracurricular and community activities, supporting staff and families, mental health during COVID-19, and your dream, your team, creating career pathways for students with disabilities. The links to all of those programs are available in the email that was sent to you yesterday, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks again, Diane. Annette Blau, thank you so much for your closed captioning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was great to have the chance to share.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to the rest of the presentations.